Hello,
Hey!
good to have you.
Thank
Hey,
you, me too.
it's always a pleasure to talk with you. Well, hey, I'm really looking forward to the spring event that's coming up. It's going to be your workshop is going to be on April 16th, but you're going to be here at the studio teaching private sessions, I think from the 14th and 15th also.
Mhm.
So if anybody wants to join those, Noam has a few spots left. He's filling up quick, but there's a few spots left.
Please, please, please.
So he'd be happy to work with you. I know I've worked with Noam. I've gotten lessons from Noam over the years, and they're always phenomenal. He always gives me exactly what my body needs, and helps me discover things too. So I encourage everyone to try to get a session with Noam.
Thank you, Joel.
But in addition to that, Noam, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the workshops that you're going to be doing. Um, the one workshop is Discover Your Pelvic Power. So tell us a little bit about that workshop and why Pilates teachers need to come to that workshop.
First of all, the body is such an incredible machine. We all know that. We fall in love with, like Pilates. And what I love about this Franklin Method workshop is that we what we become good at often is what we do a lot. And we learned a lot through different system. Like example, Pilates could be yoga, it could be fitness. But there's an innate movement that happens within our bodies that I find sometimes that if we're not made aware of what really is happening, it's really, really hard to actually sense it or even to know that it's happening because our focus has been put on something else, like the learning of the pursuit of becoming better at a classical Pilates, like practitioner or even teacher. So what this workshop is about is that, first of all, we're going to be looking at the dynamic function, like of the pelvis, and then we're going to be addressing the function into its various modality of how it impacts our daily life, but also how it informs our daily life. So we'll basically look at the nature of how it's designed, and then from there we'll go into the look at the dynamic tensegrity, the push and pull that is innate in the moment that we sit down, we stand up, the way we actually lift our knees, the way we actually also walk, which when you think of it, any kind of system of exercise system that is out there is based on what we do a lot, which is standing, sitting, walking, breathing, thinking, and sleeping. We don't sleep in a workout, but what I'm saying is that that's what we do a lot. We've been trained in a way in terms of Pilates. And if I use the example often of the example of a shoulder bridge, the shoulder bridge in Pilates, the shoulder bridge in yoga, the shoulder bridge at the gym is pretty much the same look. The type of cueing that we give is very different because the
Mm-hmm.
outcome is very different.
Yes.
So, but often the kind of cueing that is given to a system, I find sometimes is bias. It's
Mm-hmm.
really based on what we're trying to achieve and doesn't always base on the way the body is designed to function. And I think often those cues, from a lot of personal experience, I've been dancing, pretty much all my life, and the kind of cueings are often is to give you the result. And the way it happens, I think, is a different story. And so there's a lot of bracing I find in the way we say hold your pelvis, lift your belly, like squeeze it in, like
Mm-hmm.
like keep it still, which doesn't exist. So I'm not saying that in this workshop for any Pilates instructor we are going to be changing the form. We're just going to be reusing, because I'm very a purist this way, like I think the Franklin, Eric Franklin is a genius and is like is ahead of his time. The same thing that Joseph was. And I'm not the person who's going to be, try to actually recreate the form, recreate the wheel. But I think what's going to be great is we're going to be able to use within the first workshop to the second workshop, having a better understanding that of the natural movement that exists without changing the form. And I need to say it because we're not going to create like say, oh, we're going to explore. We have to explore in order to sense something else. but the form is what it is, and I'm not interested in changing it. But the way we'll be able to investigate of how we perceive within our own bodies of what really is happening may change how we address a process in our student to become even more dynamically supported, aligned, and feeling more ease in their bodies, and also giving them the opportunity to keep it more from a student point of view. The least amount of word we need to use, the more space we give them to have an experience. And sometimes when you understand the dynamic structure and natural innate movement that exists within the body while you're trying to fit within the form, allows you to perceive what needs to be said, not what you want or what you think the process will. Example, in the spine, like in the saw, we say don't move your feet. The reason of not moving the feet is the result of when you actually dynamically organize, the feet don't move. Because what we'll be discovering within the way that the body has a counter rotation, which is very similar to when we walk, or even the way we sit and stand. And so the moment that you've experienced that, then you realize that it's not that you're not doing the things that we teach. It's just that you realize that you're not doing too much of it or too little. And you have a better understanding to understand that it's not that we stop doing or saying what we're saying, but we have a better picture of like, oh, this is not moving, one side is not moving, this is happening. So then you can actually re-cue from an experience that creates the least amount of tension in their bodies. So they can have the most efficiency in terms of like dynamic tension of the push and pull. And just to make a greater case right now, just which we'll be talking a lot in the workshop, the body's currency of the human is basically elasticity. So what we reuse and use the most, and there's more ligaments and ligaments in our body, over 900 versus 650 of muscles. So there's means that there's a need for it to move. And when we're talking about bone structures, the way the attachment are is from bone to bones, and the ability to understand how they interrelate or they actually recoil and rebound, I think gives you this beautiful sense of ease and this amazing pleasure realizing that you don't have to work so hard. And just to finish it, what we'll be doing a lot, because we'll be looking at anatomy, and the anatomy is amazing, but often the way I've been taught anatomy, you sit there, you take a lot of notes. And what's very different about the Franklin method is that we learn to embody it. So, we have a better picture, and then the clearer the picture is of really what's happening in the body, the more then we put it in motion. And we say in the Franklin method, embodying function, improve function. And it's as simple as that. And so often what we do is what we've been told to do, which I'm not saying at all that, it's bad, because it's always in the context of the moment. But when you're also being able to feel and sense that everything you're doing is in relationship of what you end up doing the most, which walking, sitting, standing, breathing, and also thinking. We have around 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And the impact of how we are able to recalibrate the way we think about something can speed up the process.
Wow.
So I think the workshops, I love those workshops. It's giving me, it changed my, my Pilates practice, yet I'm still, adamant that, I stick with the, the classical, the repertoire is what it is. But there's times I'm realizing, oh, it's kind of my hidden secret. It's not that, what I'm being told is wrong. I just think that we're missing a step. And the step is, I find, is the embodying function. Good function creates the result of what good Pilates is, returning to life.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Noam. That's really, really nice that you've really whet my appetite for that workshop too. I can't wait. I can't wait to experience it. And I think that's so nice because, again, you're honoring the original work, but it's just a different way to experience it, which will then help enhance how you teach it. right? And that's
Yeah.
what we all wanted to be, as better teachers, and experience the work in maybe different ways that may appeal to
And,
us. So I love that.
and I think, like you're saying, I think not to be afraid. I've been doing Pilates for over 35 years now. So if I was wanting to change it, I wouldn't still be doing
Right.
classical. And I think it's important to
Right.
be said because there's a lot of,
Mhm.
sometimes if we don't talk about it from the point of view that usually is taught. And I'm not saying let's stop talking about it this point of view. I think these workshops, these two workshops, can help us actually notice and perceive within the system what I think the work is truly about. You know, like the natural flow of movement, returning to life,
Yes.
returning to,
Yes.
the way we're designed from, the supple, like the suppleness of, the baby spine and all those things
Hmm.
that he talks about. Like I think, in the way you looked at animals, he didn't have all those cues. He just had a lot of tactile, like connection and just made you move at a certain pace, which is, like something we can talk in the workshop because we talked about that. But I think
Yes.
it's important
Don't
to
give
make
away
sure,
too much,
yeah,
Noam.
it's amazing. It's important to say that people, if they're classically trained, we're not going to be veering away from that. Just
Right.
hoping
Right.
that you'll be discovering something that I think is can give a lot of values. It's certainly changed my life in the last 12 years.
Wow. Thank you so much, Noam. We really look forward to it. So again, I encourage as many people as possible to attend this workshop. Come live if you can. The workshops will be recorded, so if you can watch them, you can participate online as well. They'll be recorded. I know I have a couple teachers that have things going on, so they'll be here for like the morning, but then they'll be able to watch the ones in the afternoon. So they're disappointed they won't be able to be here. But the reason I bring that up is because if you're in that situation, you're watching this, there are ways you can participate and still be able to learn from Noam's experience and knowledge. So Noam, thank you so much for taking time out to expand on what your workshops are going to entail. So look forward to them,
Me
and
too.
I look forward to having you come down to Atlanta, spend some time in Atlanta, hang out at the Vitality Method Studio. It's going to be a lot of fun.